This is the early edition, a curated weekday guide to major news and developments over the past 24 hours, curated by Lizzie Jennings and read by an automated voice. Published June 8, 2026 on Just Security, an essential resource for those shaping a just and secure world. Here's today's news. Iran war. Ceasefire. Israel struck Beirut's southern suburbs yesterday in retaliation for a Hezbollah missile attack on northern Israel, Israeli officials said, adding that the strike targeted a Hezbollah command center in Dahieh. The strike killed at least 2 people and wounded several others, according to Lebanon's state news agency. Ebrahim Riazai, a member of the Iranian parliament's National Security Committee, wrote on social media that Iran will give a decisive and painful response to the Zionist regime's attack on Dahieh. Barak Ravid reports for Axios. Israel said overnight that Iran launched waves of missiles at Israel in the first such bombardment since the ceasefire took effect in April. Iran's state broadcaster confirmed the missile launches, citing the Iranian armed forces as saying that if Israel responds to Iranian attacks or does not stop its attacks on Lebanon, Iranian attacks will continue. Yemeni Houthis also claimed a missile attack on Israel, saying that Israel-affiliated vessels in the Red Sea are now a target again. Karim Chehayeb, Sami Magdi, Melanie Lidman, and Kara Dana report for AP News. President Trump told Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu last night not to retaliate against Iran's missile attack because we are close to doing something good in terms of a deal, according to a senior U.S. official and an Israeli source. Trump also told the Financial Times yesterday that Netanyahu won't have any choice but to accept any deal the U.S. secures from negotiations with Iran. I call the shots. I call the shots. He doesn't call the shots, Trump said. Barak Ravid reports for Axios, Edward Luce reports, Parisa Hafezi, Nayara Abdallah, and Stephen Shear report for Reuters. The Israeli military said this morning that it struck a petrochemical complex in Mashhad, in southwestern Iran. Iran has closed the airspace around Tehran's Imam Khomeini International Airport following waves of Israeli attacks. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps threatened to expand its retaliation after Israel struck the petrochemical facilities and said it had fired on a similar Israeli industrial site in the coastal city of Haifa. AP News reports. Sanam Mahouzi reports for the New York Times. Trump called for Iran and Israel to immediately stop shooting in a post on social media today. Leo Sands reports for the New York Times. Iran war, Lebanon operations. An Israeli strike in southern Lebanon on Saturday killed 3 Lebanese soldiers, the Lebanese army said. Ewan Ward reports for the New York Times. The Israeli military has deployed white phosphorus over populated areas in Lebanon in its battle against Hezbollah, according to experts, aid groups, and visual evidence collected by the New York Times. Distinctive smoke trails from this type of munition were seen as recently as May 30th in Nabatea, a city of roughly 40,000, in social media footage verified by the Times. Sanjana Varghese reports. Iran war. Other developments. Recent U.S. intelligence reports say the Pentagon has raised Israel's counterintelligence threat level to critical after concerns that Israeli agencies intensified efforts to spy on U.S. officials and eavesdrop on U.S. negotiations with Iran, including targeting senior figures involved in policy and diplomacy, according to some U.S. officials. Julian E. Barnes and Eric Schmidt report for the New York Times. I didn't guarantee no war, Trump said in an interview with NBC, recorded on Friday. Why would I have built the strongest military in the world, he added. Speaking about the U.S.-Israeli war in Iran, he continued. So when you say I promised, I didn't promise anything. I don't like these endless wars. This is not an endless war. We've been doing this for 3 months. Katie Rogers reports for the New York Times. Israel-Hamas war. Israeli strikes yesterday on a police station and a vehicle in Gaza killed at least 9 people and wounded 20 others, health officials said. One strike hit a police post adjacent to a large tent encampment of displaced families in Khan Yunis, killing 5 people and wounding 16 others. Another Israeli airstrike killed 4 people and wounded 4 others when it hit a vehicle driving through the middle of Gaza City. Nidal al-Maghrabi reports for Reuters. West Bank violence. Israeli forces on Friday killed a Palestinian infant in the occupied West Bank when they opened fire on a car in which the boy and several relatives were traveling, according to members of his family and local health officials. The Israeli military said that an Israeli soldier had opened fire on the car in Hebron after troops perceived a vehicle accelerating toward them. Aaron Boxerman reports for the New York Times. A Palestinian man with Israeli citizenship yesterday shot and killed a reservist and wounded 5 other people in central Israel after opening fire in multiple locations, the Israeli police said. Hamas praised the shooting as heroic, though it did not claim responsibility. Melanie Lidman reports for AP News. Isabel Kirshner reports for the New York Times. Russia-Ukraine war. Ukraine on Saturday hit a Russian military base and other targets near St. Petersburg using long-range drones. The Russian authorities called the attack unprecedented, with Governor Alexander Drozdenko of the Leningrad region announcing that more than 140 drones had been shot down. The Ukrainian drone strike on St. Petersburg was the second such attack in 4 days. Neil McFarquhar reports for the New York Times. The leaders of the United Kingdom, Ukraine, France, and Germany yesterday discussed the urgent need to increase production of weapons to combat Russia's powerful hypersonic Oreshnik ballistic missile during a meeting in London. They issued a joint statement underlining the urgent need to scale up the production of interceptors and co-develop anti-ballistic missiles and deep strike capabilities. No details, financial or otherwise, on how this would be done were provided. Pan Pilas reports for AP News. A French fighter jet on a NATO mission shot down a drone that entered Latvia's airspace from Russia today. Andreas Sitas and Jonas Lysens report for Reuters. A Ukrainian drone crossed into Moldova early this morning, with fragments of it showing traces of an explosion that were found in a field near the eastern village of Lopatna. Regardless of the drone's origin, Russia, which launched an illegal war in the neighboring country, bears responsibility for any unmanned aerial vehicle that enters Moldovan territory, the Moldovan Foreign Ministry said. Other global developments. Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan today declared victory in the parliamentary election, overcoming a pressure campaign by Moscow. Ahead of the election, researchers and officials said Russia-linked groups conducted an unusually intense disinformation campaign aimed at undermining Pashinyan. Paul Sane reports for the New York Times. Stephen Lee Myers reports for the New York Times. The UN assistance mission in Afghanistan yesterday expressed concern over the arrest and detention of women in Herat for allegedly failing to comply with dress requirements. The reported detentions follow a Taliban directive issued last week prohibiting women from appearing in public without what authorities described as a proper hijab, according to local media. Reuters reports. U.S. Foreign Affairs. Vice President J.D. Vance on Friday blamed the murder of 18-year-old Henry Nowak in the United Kingdom on civilizational decline and the failure to stop the mass invasion of migrants. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer's office responded that Nowak's family did not want his death to be used to create further division or hatred. Deputy Prime Minister David Lammy said he spoke to Vance on Saturday to clarify that Nowak's death had nothing to do with mass migration. Kate Holton and Andrew McAskill report for Reuters. Pan Pilas reports for AP News. The White House is considering a plan to buy the Chagos Islands from Mauritius, sources told The Telegraph. According to the report, U.S. officials have drawn up a proposal to bypass the United Kingdom and make their own deal to take control of Diego Garcia. Reuters reports. Connor Stringer and Tony Diver report. U.S. domestic developments. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, a Democrat, on Friday halted new state tax incentive agreements for data centers after lawmakers failed to approve a legislative pause. Shia Kapos reports for Politico. The Los Angeles U.S. Attorney's Office said on Friday it has opened multiple election fraud investigations, claiming the California election system has serious structural vulnerabilities. The announcement followed Trump's criticism on Thursday of the state's lengthy ballot counting system. Jeremy Roebuck and Arelis R. Hernandez report for The Washington Post. There was a thumb on the scale for the president's version of events that I felt was a level of political influence that I had never seen in 37 years at CBS News. Scott Pelley said yesterday in his first sit-down interview since he was fired last week. Pelley alleged that CBS News editor-in-chief Bari Weiss intervened in a 60 Minutes report about the deaths of Renee Good and Alex Petty in Minneapolis, pushing for protesters to be portrayed as more violent and for details about Good's actions toward an officer to be emphasized. Adil Hassan reports for the New York Times. David Rush, a CIA employee who was recently found with $40 million of gold bars in his house, had created a secret intelligence program to funnel millions of dollars from the federal government to himself, according to two U.S. officials. Julian E. Barnes and Edward Wong report for the New York Times. Trump administration actions. Sriram Krishnan has informed administration officials that he plans to leave his post as the White House Senior Policy Advisor for AI to start an outside institution focused on technology policy, according to a source. Kat Zakrzewski reports for The Washington Post. Trump said on Friday that he believes the Office of the Director of National Intelligence is too bloated and has tasked Acting Director Bill Pulte with overseeing staffing cuts. The Wall Street Journal reported that Trump suggested prioritizing firing staff who served under the Biden and Obama administrations. Aaron Pellish reports for Politico. Brian Schwartz reports. Trump administration litigation. A federal judge on Friday invalidated policies the Trump administration enacted last year that halted asylum grants and the processing of immigration benefits for people from 39 countries. Zach Montague and Madeline No report for the New York Times. A political activist and Vietnam veteran filed a lawsuit on Saturday challenging Trump's planned night of cage fights at the White House as part of the celebration of the country's 250th anniversary. The lawsuit argues that Trump unlawfully authorized the use of federal property for a private, profit-making spectacle that benefits UFC executives and himself as an investor in the company's parent organization. In case you missed it, yesterday on Just Security, the lessons of Zambia's RightsCon cancellation for international democracy promotion, by Andrew Friedman and Tara L. Thwing. Trump drew the right map for AI oversight, but stopped at the trailhead, by Mariana Olezola Rosenblatt. Can the Secretary of Defense remove admirals from a promotion list? By Mark Nevitt. Thank you for listening to Just Security's early edition today, June 8, 2026. If you enjoy listening, Just Security's analytic articles are also available in audio form on the justsecurity.org website. To stay up to date on Just Security's analysis of law, policy, and current events, go to justsecurity.org, subscribe to Just Security on Substack, and follow us on LinkedIn, Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, and Threads.